men would say really disgusting things to me in public.
Because of the way I dress, people assume my sexuality.
This guy said, "I'm going to break your face," and then he threatened to punch me.
"Oh, you should try men." I don't have to try men, I just say no to you, and that should be enough. The first time I experienced harassment, I was probably around 14, 15.
12.
Maybe like 11 or 12, probably in my school uniform.
And just someone stop and try to talk to me, and I say no, I just want to go home.
He basically called me over and he was sitting there masturbating.
I was on MySpace and like all these different websites, and men were constantly messaging me, and at the time I didn't understand it as inappropriate.
I'm such a minority in who I am that it's very easy for people to pick me out, and it's very easy for people to, want to confront how different I am. Whereas, if you're white and you're straight, you're much less of a minority than I am. So you're not as easy to pick out. You don't confront people in the same way. You don't confront people's way of being in the same way that I think I do.
When I'm attacked in the street or harassed, it's not just attacking one part of my identity, which is like female or whatever it might be. It's much more of a deeper criticism of who I am, and it's also a lack of respect for who I am, because it's either fetishizing me as like, "Oh, you're the Asian, haha, like hot tiger," or whatever, or it might be also seeing my sexuality as something that is for somebody else's pleasure and their gain.
I think I get a lot of the same harassment as straight women of colour do. It's just got that edge to it of like people being extra uncomfortable, not knowing what my sexuality is.
"Oh, can I join you?" "Oh, I wish I could be with you guys." Wish you wouldn't say that to a straight couple.
The most obvious kind of harassment that I get is always in regards to how I dress, how I portray myself. Sometimes I might be in the toilet and someone very confidently tells me, "You're not meant to be in here." And then I have to have that awkward conversation of, actually I am meant to be in here because I'm a woman. And then I have to have the awkward conversation where either they say, "No, you're not," and then I have to argue about my own gender, or then they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," and then they have this whole monologue about how sorry they are for confusing my gender around several other people in the bathroom at the time, which just makes the situation even worse.
In a nightclub, men would want to dance with me, and what is harder for me is I explicitly have to say and put it out there, "I'm a lesbian." One time my partner had to come between me and someone and clearly say she's not free. And at that point I really thought a fight would start.
I've had people grab me quite a few times, like grab my arms really hard or grab my hair.
Especially with men, they feel a lot more comfortable stepping to me in a certain way because of my stature. We might be looking eye to eye in a lot of circumstances, so to them it's like, I'm fair game.
I've only reported one incident to the police, and that was a really, an intense incident that happened in the park where I was followed by this guy, and then he basically started to call us dykes and said, "Why would a dyke wear a pink sweater?" And then eventually this individual ran after us with an empty vodka bottle, and then he said, "I'm going to kill you," and lots of people in the park called the police, so did we, and it kind of snowballed. He was charged with charge on the Public Disobedience Act or something like that. So I was really happy, and he was also fined. So I felt really grateful for the support of the police.
I've reported being harassed before when it went into more like stalking, but the police didn't do anything about it, and they actually made me feel really bad about it.
Like if I ended up getting in a physical altercation that left me in hospital or something like that, then yeah, maybe I'd report it, because I'd think, well, I don't want that to happen to someone else. But again, it's one of those things where I don't know if I would, because I wouldn't be seen as a victim. I would probably be seen as like the protagonist in the situation, like I caused it for some reason. And I think that's probably how a lot of other women feel who have reported harassment, that somehow it was their own fault.
What I find really frustrating is that they, in the times where people have stepped in, rather than tell the perpetrator to stop doing it, they tell me to, go away. So actually in that instance, there was this guy who said, you should leave the park. So he told me to leave the park, whereas I think he should have told the person to leave us alone because we're just trying to jog.
There's no one who stop on the street and say, she just says no to you. You should leave her alone. And that's what worried me the most.
People don't step in because they probably see, stereotype me in the same way, that I can handle myself, and that even if they think whatever's happening is wrong, I've got it, sort of thing.
To be honest, I go through stretches, especially when I was younger, of just not wanting to go out at all because of the feeling of it being unpredictable what's going to happen when I step outside.
If I go out, I make sure my bag is really heavy. So if anyone attacked me, I'd be able to kind of defend myself.
I feel less free because I'm not really walking around where I want to walk. I won't take the shortcut because it's dark, or I'll have to cross the road.
I don't want to make eye contact with people. I don't smile at people. It's really sad.
I think in general, women's voices are not really heard enough. There's sort of this excuse that, oh, well, boys will be boys. But actually, it's not really about boys will be boys. It should be about getting men to be accountable for the acts that they do.
It's not always your job, basically, to teach people how not to harass you, because it has an impact on you, having to have those conversations all the time.
It's just, the support's just not there, and we end up just turning to each other, which is in some ways good because we understand each other, in other ways really bad because we're not equipped to handle those situations and we're not trained to deal with other people's trauma.
I think we should have someone appointed that we could go to and point out that person who just harassed me and say that person just come to me and the comment it made didn't make me feel comfortable and something should be done, should have consequences.
We can't solve it all ourselves. We need the white men with privilege to also support us so that we can change the discourse in society, and also change the behavior.
I think it should be taught in schools what's okay and what's not okay, what's banter and what's not banter. And if we start doing that, only then will we start to see a change in how society deals with harassment and how harassment presents itself.
We should be able to be who we want to be with who we want, and be able to walk on the street like anyone else.
Whatever I want to do, I just want to be much more free. I don't want to be thinking about other people. I just want to live authentically.
It would be nice to never have to worry about how people are perceiving me, and it would be nice for harassment not to be so normal.
I'm glad and privileged to feel safe to do this, because I know a lot of people wouldn't feel safe to publicly talk about these things for good reason.